Welcome back. Today we're going to make a very simple animation where a cat and a dog have a little chat. Let's get started. If you open Scratch, it'll look exactly like the screen in front of you. Okay, so you'll notice that the Scratch screen is broken up into three areas. Over here, we have the stage, okay, where everything happens. Here we have the blocks of code. The blocks of code are what make things happen. And over here we have the script area. And this is where we put our list of instructions or our blocks of code. Okay, so first things first. This little cat is here on the stage and he is called a sprite. Okay, so he's called a sprite. Now I can move him to another area on the stage by just putting the arrow on him, the cursor on him, holding down with my left button of the mouse and dragging him across to any other area. And when I let him go, he'll stop moving. Okay, so there are a few tools to change how the cat looks up here. We have a tool here that if we hover over it, it says grow. And if I click on that, the cursor changes from an arrow to 4 arrows sticking outwards. And if we drag that over to the cat and click on it with the left button of the mouse, the cat gets bigger. Okay, if we go over here again, the one right beside grow is called shrink. And you can guess what that does. So if we click on that, we have 4 arrows that are pointing inwards. If we drag it over to the cat and click on her, she gets smaller and we can make her quite tiny if we like. Anyway, let's get her back to around the same size. So we'll use our grow tool again. Okay, and then we have another block here, which is a scissors, and if we hover over that, it says delete. Okay, so we can click on the delete button, and if we drag the snippy scissors over to the cat, she will disappear. Now the cat is gone. Okay, so let's get her back. So as I said, the cat is called a sprite. And if we go over here, you'll see the words new sprite. And there's a little icon here that if I hover over it, it turns blue and it says choose sprite from library. If I click on that, a library opens up, okay, right here, where we have a whole range of sprites. And we have a little toggle bar over here that we can move up and down to go through it. So if we put the arrow on this little toggle bar, we hold down with the left hand button on the mouse and scroll down. You can go down and see all the different sprites in the library. Okay, now for today's lesson, I'm going to get the cat back. So you'll notice they're all alphabetical. So they start with A, go on to B, and down to C, and so on all the way down. So I'm going to click on my cat, so I want her back on the screen. So I click on her once, and we notice there's a big blue square around her. Once we have that, we go down to the OK button, and she appears on the stage. Now I want to give her a friend. Okay, so I go back into the sprite library again, just like before. So bring the mouse pointer down until it turns blue. Click with your left button of your mouse. You're back into the library, and this time we're going to give her a friend. So again, I'm going to use my toggle bar to get through the library of sprites. So I hold down with the left and scroll. And I'm going to give her a dog friend. Okay, I like this guy here. So I'm going to click on him once. We have the blue square and click OK. Now you guys are free to choose your own sprites, okay? Now here I move the dog a little bit closer to the cat, but you'll notice that he's pointing in the wrong direction. I want him to face the cat because I want them to have a chat. So if I go up here to costumes, okay, see these 3 tabs here. One is called scripts. That's where our blocks of code are. Here we have our costumes. So if I click on that, you'll notice over here, there's a little button. And if you hover over it, it says flip left to right. Okay, so if I click on that, And you notice here I'm on my dog. My dog is selected. So I go over here to flip left, right, and my dog flips back the other way. So now he's facing the cat. Okay, and back into scripts. Okay, so now we have the cat and the dog facing each other. You'll notice that their surroundings are a little bit bland. So I was thinking we might change them so that they look a little bit more interesting. So the background of the stage can be changed by going over here to stage, one backdrop. You'll notice new backdrop here. Now we have a number of different options, but we're going to choose the first one, which, like choosing a sprite, this allows us to choose a new backdrop. Okay, so if I click on this button here, we're brought into a background or a backdrop library, just like the sprite library, but this is just like a painting for the background. So again, we can use our toggle bar to scroll up and down. So if I put the arrow on the bar over here, hold down with the left hand button of the mouse and scroll. We have all types of different backgrounds, from underwater backgrounds, winter scenes, stages, cityscapes, fields, football pitches, and so on. I'm going to choose this blue sky one here. So if I click on it once, the blue square will go around it. And if I click OK, it appears on the stage. So this is a bit more interesting. Now I can move my cat down to the path, just this. So I put my arrow on him or her, hold down with the left button and just drag him down. Okay, so click and drag. Now we have the cat and the dog, and we have a nice background for them. Next thing we're going to do is some coding. At this stage, you should have your background chosen and two sprites facing each other. So we're going to do a very simple animation code today, piece of code today, and we're going to literally make the cat or the dog or both move, talk, and make a sound. Okay. So we're going to start with the cat. So I know I'm coding the cat because the blue square is around the cat. If I wanted to code the dog, I would click on him. We're going to start with the cat. So before we start to code, we're going to talk a little bit about the types of blocks that are here. Okay, so we're going to start with the event blocks. And this will tell the computer when we want our cat to do something. So let's do something really simple. So when space key pressed. So I'm going to take that block. So I point my arrow at it. I hold down with the left button on my mouse and I drag it across into the script area. So now I have my first block. When space key pressed. Now remember, coding is like a list of instructions. So I'm going to give the computer a list of instructions of what I want the cat to do when I hit the space key. So first of all, we'll say we want her to move. Okay, so we'll go into our motion blocks and we'll grab the first one, move 10 steps. So again, we put the arrow on the block, hold down with the left hand button of the mouse and drag the block across. Now you'll notice the blocks are a little bit like jigsaw pieces in that they have pieces either coming out of them or a kind of a gap where another piece can fit into. Let me just make this a bit bigger. Okay, so when space key pressed, I want you to move 10 steps. So if I drag that up there, you'll notice that the other piece kind of lights up as if to say, yeah, I'm ready. And we just let it go and it clicks in. So when space key pressed, move 10 steps. Now let's see what happens. So if I click the space key, the cat will move. Okay, now it doesn't look like she's moving 10 steps because the steps are really tiny in Scratch. But anyway, you can see that she's moving. The next thing I want her to do is I want her to say something. I want her to say something to the dog. So if we go into our looks blocks, we have a block here that says, say hello for 2 seconds. Now I'm going to take that block. So again, put the arrow on it, hold down with the left-hand mouse button and drag. Now I want her to move and then say hello. If I wanted it the other way around, I would have to pop the hello in here. So it would happen first. But I want her to move first and then say hello. I don't just want her to say hello, so I'm going to change that. So if I click into the white space where the hello is, and I go to the end of it and I just move back with my delete button and I can say, hello dog, how are you today? And how are you today? Okay, so let's see what happens now. So let's see if that happens. So again, we hit on the space key and the cat says, hello dog, oh, how are you today? I made a mistake. I had how are you today? So let's go back, put in our H. Let's try again. Hello dog, how are you today? Okay, and the last thing I want her to do is I want her to make a sound. So which blocks do we go into? The sound blocks, that's right. And the very top one says play sound meow. So let's grab that and bring it down and pop it in there. And now we say again, hello dog, how are you? Meow. Very good. So we've done a little script. That's what we call it once we have more than one block. It's called a script. And we have a little script for our cat so that when we click the space key, she moves, she says hello, and she plays a sound. So today we've used 4 different types of blocks. We've used an event block, a motion block, a looks block, and a sound block. Well done. Okay, now we want to code the dog. All right. So in order to code the dog, we need to click on the dog. And we know we've selected him because the blue square is around him. And if you notice here, his script area is empty. It's blank. And that's because we haven't written any code for the dog yet. So let's get started. The first block of code we need is an event block. Okay, so we need an event block to tell the computer when we want the dog to do something. So last time we used the space key for the cat. So let's take that out. Now, if I was to use this, that would mean that when I hit the space key, the cat and the dog would do things at the exact same time. And that won't work out in this case because we want the cat to be able to do her little walk and to say something to the dog. And we only want the dog to answer once the cat has finished. So let's choose a different event. Now you'll notice beside the space key, there's a little black triangle. If you click on that, we have lots of different options. Okay, so I'm going to say when I click on the letter D, D for dog, okay? So when the D on the keyboard, so the letter D key is pressed, I want the dog just to say something. We won't get him to move, okay? So we'll just make him answer the cat and say, hi cat, I'm fine, thanks. It's a lovely day. Oops. Okay, and then let's make him make the sound. So go into sound. And you'll notice that the sound here has changed because the computer is clever and it knows, well, we don't want the dog to make a cat sound. So we go make the dog sound. So let's see what happens now. So we'll do our space key first. Hello dog, how are you today? And meow. And then we'll click on the letter D. Hi cat, I'm fine, thanks. It's a lovely day. And he makes his woof sound. Okay. So that was very good for your very first animation. So what we'll do now is we will save this to make sure that it's safe. Okay, so we say File and Save. And you can choose where you want to save it. I'm going to save it to my desktop and I'm going to save it as cat and dog chat. Okay, and click on the Save button. And now that has a name. Okay, well done. That was very good for today. Next time we'll animate your name, where every letter of your name will do something different. I'm looking forward to it. See you then.